Greetings and welcome to Wealth for Real Facebook page, going live on Wednesday, January 17th, 2024. I actually got some daylight to deal with here, unlike some of the recent lives. Wanted to expand, guys, on the video I made yesterday when I went live yesterday, and I talked about frustrations with securing a mortgage as a 1099, as a business owner, and just some of the inherent challenges I'd faced with that. At first, I wanted to talk today about which lenders I'd approached. And when I say which lenders I'd approached, I mean the ones geared towards small businesses and 1099s. I'm not talking about, the big banks and stuff that make traditional conventional loans. I mean, that's a given that none of them would lend to somebody in my situation. It was more so the specialized lenders that I had hope and optimism as far as those go, that wasn't materializing, okay, that there has not been any traction. So that's what I was going to talk about first, was just kind of ticking a few of those off for you guys and giving you some of my perspective on those lenders. But I think what I wanted to back up and actually talk about on this live is the very act of pursuing a mortgage to buy a primary residence versus kind of the Cardone rule, I like to call it, of rent where you live, own what you can rent. And that's something, I'll be frank with you guys, that was a given my experience with rental real estate and all the benefits that had come from that really was a guiding principle of mine for years. I mean, since I discovered Cardone in 2018, so I think it was summer of 2018, came across the guy for the first time. Actually, the first video I ever watched of his had not much to do with real estate. It was about sales, and he was like giving a sales tutorial to his team or whatever. But just his demeanor kind of caught my attention. And then, of course, started really digging into the real estate stuff. But at that point in time, obviously, and still am, was renting an apartment in 2018. Owned at that point in time shares in almost 70 rental properties. I was a minority shareholder with a much larger partner, but it was immensely beneficial for me cash flow and tax wise. And so I was like, yeah, the Cardone rule works great. Why would I take my cash and put it on a primary residence when I can just plow it back into real estate? So that made sense, and that was the guiding light for so long. Until a year or so ago, maybe even go back to the end of 2022, when being a father became part of the equation, and it already had been a part of the equation for a few years by that point, but it really dawned on me as my son, grows up and gets bigger and starts needing more space and elbow room, that I had entirely put my emphasis into the financial proposition of whether to buy a house or not, which I absolutely do not believe in. I absolutely believe that if you have cash to put down on a primary residence, go rent a primary residence and put the cash onto a rental property, right? And then get the cash flow and get the tax benefits, and then one day you'll be able to buy whatever house you want to. That kind of heuristic, right? So financially only, that remains my sort of focal point and belief system that I really think holds true. Even though I know there's a lot of people out there who will, slap me down for saying, don't buy a home. It's much like Kiyosaki got treated back in, not on his level by any means, but I'm just saying, the same idea. Like when he came out in 1997 and said, don't buy a home, it's not an asset. I mean, he was crushed for that. And imagine if he had said it, if he had said it first, like in this day and age with social media and stuff. But simply echoing his sentiment is all I'm saying. I still feel that way. But the problem is, you can't get wrapped up entirely in finances once you're a parent. And that's something I didn't learn until being a parent plus 3 years. Okay, I mean, I'm not even saying I changed my mind the instant I became a parent. I was still kind of believing in my mind that any free cash available should go into more rental properties that go into the trust, that will eventually go to my son. And that held up until, a couple years ago. He's getting bigger and he's running around and he needs space and he needs a backyard and he needs a neighborhood and a community to be part of. And we don't have that, obviously, in the apartment complex. And all of a sudden, rates start rising, houses get way more expensive, mortgages that, were $3,500 a month in 2021 are now $7,000 a month in 2022, 23, 24. So, we're talking about a staggering dislocation of cost from where it had been when I could have made the move, when I could have said to myself, I don't really believe in buying the primary residence, and I have that whole Cardone rule going through my head and that whole situation. But this environment is absolutely ideal to buy a home. This environment of 2%, 3% rates is absolutely ideal for buying a home. And oh, by the way, even if my son isn't quite there yet, soon enough, he's going to need that space and he's going to need that bigger place to live in. And so that was a forecastable thing back in 2020, 2021. And unfortunately, just didn't resonate with me, didn't occur to me. And so by the time it was necessary, and I put that in quotes because, it's arguable how necessary it is, right? But I could certainly see the value in having a home for him to grow up in. I definitely could see the value in it by then. Well, guess what? By the time I saw the value, now the rates are 6, 7, 8% and everything's unaffordable. So I think, to be honest with you guys, I don't know where this thing is going to go. I don't know where this is going to take me as far as the search goes. Part of me feels like it's so hard to get a mortgage. It's a sign, somebody's trying to tell me something kind of thing. But I think the bottom line, guys, is if it's not doable and I give up on it, I think the focus is going to be renewed in going back to the 2018 philosophy that I developed, kind of riding the Grant Cardone coattails of saying, okay, it's not the right environment. It's not going to happen right now. I'm going to keep on renting, whether that's renting the apartment or renting a home or whatever. And all the extra cash that I can get my hands on is going to go into rental properties. And it's going to be an execution of the very plan that I started with. Hey, can't buy a home or not going to buy a home, buy rentals, stick them in the trust, hand them off to my son when the time comes. So that's kind of where I am with this, guys. I just kind of wanted to back up before I got into any of the gory details on lenders and who was helpful and who wasn't and all this kind of stuff. Before I get into that, I figured let me just back up and sort of philosophically discuss this topic a little bit, how it came to this, how I got here, why I'm doing what I'm doing, why there was some deviation from the original plan, and that sort of thing. So anyway, hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of a backdrop on how I got to this point. And again, more to follow. And this is a huge, as far as the personal financial picture goes for me, this is a huge topic. Okay, this is something that's going to keep on giving for a little while. And I'll be checking in with you guys and giving you updates and giving you some insights on what I'm experiencing and what things look like out there as far as borrowing as a non-W-2 earner goes. Okay, hope you guys are having a great midweek, hump day, whatever. Thanks for checking in. Until next time, we'll talk to you guys soon.